What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com. Stuart Turley, my man. How we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm wiped out. It's been a fabulous day in the news and great talking to customers.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been a busy day on the phones, and it's been a busy day in the news. Jerome Powell confirming a 25 basis points rate increase. Market did not react too kindly to that. But I think we'll break down some of his comments and really what that means for energy in my segment. But before we get to that, Stu's got a great article lineup. We're going to start really by the summit that's happening right now in
Russia,
Moscow. Putin and Xi, we support Chinese yuan use with Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Dun, dun, dun. That's the title of the first article that we'll cover. The next one we have is Putin and Xi Jinping signed string of strategic agreements. Both of these articles kind of go into one. And, you know, Stu will kind of put a bow on really what this 3-day trip to Russia really means for you at the overall on the energy markets. We've got a good joke maybe coming up. We'll see if Stu can pipe it in. Next one we have is sticker shock awaits New York utility bill to fund renewables. As you can imagine, there's probably some cost overruns going on right now. So Stu will break down what this means for New Yorkers' pocketbooks when it comes to this new solar farm. Next, TotalEnergies bet on gas means no big emissions cut by 2030. Big announcement today from French major Total as they're going big on natural gas, but this unfortunately means they probably won't meet their emissions goal by 2030. So Stu will break down what that means next. Bank turmoil could undermine the effect of Biden's clean energy bill. This kind of goes along with what we'll discuss in finance, specifically about what these rate cuts mean today and going forward, both for the energy markets and abroad. And Stu will take a crack at what it means for Biden's clean energy bill, which was riddled throughout his 2023 budget. And then finally, this is hot off the presses. New Jersey's $8,000 per resident wind energy scheme won't reduce climate change. This is more of a commentary piece that Stu will cover, but it really covers this offshore wind program that's going on in New Jersey, which is absolutely absurd. So Stu will make sure to cover that. He'll kick it over to me. Again, we'll cover Jerome Powell's comments and specifically the fallout from that as it relates to oil and gas prices. And then we'll let you on get out of here and get on your way, guys. But first, check us out online, www.energynewsbeat.com. All of the articles we're about to cover come via that website. Our team does a great job of keeping that updated and making sure it's looking spick and span. So please check it out, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. It's our combo, data and energy combo. We are hard at work at V2. So check it out. Again, energynewsbeat.com. I'm out of breath, though, Stu. Where do you want to begin?
Oh, while you're sitting there and you're out of breath, maybe I can get a word in edgewise here on this one.
Maybe.
Just kidding. Hey, last night I said that you were in having your TB tests, but I guess you were just watching the baseball game.
I was. The USA unfortunately lost, so it was. I'm positive for TB, and the USA didn't win, so it's
okay.
the worst of both worlds.
Okay. Hey, the first article, Michael, Putin and Xi sign a string of strategic agreements, and as you said, Putin to Xi, we support Chinese yuan use with Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I'm going to start on this article first, but they go hand in hand. Michael, in the ceremony at the Kremlin on the second day of the Chinese leader Xi's visit, Putin and Xi kicked off formal talks, which will focus on the Ukraine crisis. This is critical, Michael. I'll go into that in here in just a sec. They shook hands and stood side by side. And in the picture, you can see them all standing there. And I think they're talking about three guys walk into a church. No, that's a different story. Sorry, Michael. You've heard of those, whenever it says three guys walk into a bar. Okay. But Xi traveled invited Putin to travel to China, but now that he's met there, here's the key point out of both of these. Not only are they doing a brotherhood of the bond, they are now talking peace. China is negotiating peace between Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq. This is now going on, and they're now talking about doing more trade using the yuan as the global currency. This is critical. And then we had our spokesperson for the United States stand up yesterday, and they said, if this is not a direct quote, but it's an almost quote. He said, if China negotiates a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia, we will not approve it.
Absolutely. Even when Zelensky said he would agree to it. That's the craziest part.
Who in the heck turned the U.S. into bad guys? This drives me.
Newsflash, we've always been the bad guy.
Well,
it's like that classic meme where it's like the guy who's looking at the world and he's like, what's gone wrong? And it's the same guy behind him shooting him. It's always been me.
It's always been me. Well, these articles, and I encourage our listeners and our readers to go check out these two articles. They'll be in the show notes. And it is critical in so many ways, geopolitically, energy. They're signing deals, they're signing currency. This is huge.
Well, along that point, they specifically, one of the quotes out of the articles is, we signed a strategic agree. This is from President Xi over in China. We signed a strategic a statement on deepening the strategic partnerships and bilateral ties, which we are entering in this new era. One of the specific things that Putin specifically mentioned was the fact that Russia is there to meet the energy needs of China. And specifically, they've agreed upon additional natural gas deliveries, at which they will start to work on building some joint LNG facilities. So from an actual energy standpoint, not only will they going to be exchanging currencies and maybe swapping some of that for it looks like they're already doing payments in rubles, but looks like the yuan's going to get mixing in with that. Well, they're just going to start trading. So it's going to become a self-sustaining ecosystem without the United States in the global energy picture very quickly.
Oh, and it gets even worse than that from a standpoint that now OPEC is also worried. OPEC and OPEC plus. Now remember, Russia is part of OPEC plus. You're going to have, okay, Michael, let me explain this a little bit. They already have a pipeline going in the works. Russia is going to pipeline to China, but that does not get China all the natural gas they need. And so what that's going to mean is that they are going to, are you all right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It looked like you were passed out. I was afraid this was
I'm
one
good.
of those. Okay, that was one of those
notes.
Okay, one of those COVID guy dies on the set. We don't want that. So when we sit back and you take a look, Putin's going to be doing LNG with China. He's already got the LNG facility in the Arctic, and then that's going to go to China. And then China is now going to be shipping weapons and munitions to Russia. And that drove the Biden administration even further nuts.
Yeah, it's a...
Russia has the energy. China has the manufacturing. They don't need us.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we're not part of it. So fun times, guys, internationally. What do you got next?
Oh, let's go. I'm going to go slip my toes just because this is man. Okay. Sticker shock awaits New Yorkers' utility bills to fund renewables. This goes along with that other story that we're going to talk about in a second, and it's New Jersey's $8,000 per resident wind energy scheme won't reduce climate change. Okay. This is like almost Greta. Did you hear Greta 2 days ago got her honorary doctorate degree in theology. A university act. Here's a high school kid.
Wait. Isn't she a Scientologist?
Yeah, whatever, but she's just got
I'm
it.
99% sure Greta Van Susteren is a Scientologist. Continue. I'm going to look this up.
Okay, but she got an honorary degree as a
Oh, we're talking about
theologist.
Greta Thunberg?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of somebody different. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, an honorary degree, a PhD in theology, climate theology, because that article even says that now climate change is a religion. So she gets a degree in climate religion. I thought, now that was pretty funny. Okay,
Imagine actually. So I'm reading the article right now. It's from the University of Helsinki. Imagine having a degree from that university. Imagine having sweated for years to achieve a degree from a prestigious university, only for them to give an honorary doctorate degree and claim, quote, which is the university's highest recognition, to Greta Thunberg.
I got some really funny ones because I was trolling people on social media, and I said off of that article to some folks, and I said, "Hey, I would love to have Greta on my podcast and talk to her about this." And they said, "Oh, you would have a great time with Greta."
Funny.
Okay.
It's almost as bad as having an Oklahoma State degree.
Oh, hey. But I covered it up with an MBA from Oklahoma City University with a 4.0. So
Okay, fair
I
enough.
worked for that bad dog. I got an ulcer. Okay, sticker shock awaits New Yorkers' utility bills to fund renewables. Michael, this is got some quotes in it. Financing them through rates, particularly on residential, is the least progressive mechanism for financing anything. We make no judgment whether you have the money to pay or you don't have the money, said John Howard, a commissioner on the Public Service Commission at last month's meeting. But Michael, this is taxation without representation when it goes through this.
This is specifically what the Tea Party in 1775 fought against. Was literally they're rolling out these state funded, and when they say, I love when they say state funded, that's literally like you funded. When you hear the state funded, think, oh, I'm funding this. Oh, this is coming out of my pocket because this is taxpayer money, the hard-earned money that you worked for hard today. The first 3 hours of your day job, I saw that stat the other day. Your first 3 hours of work generally cover your tax burden. So think about that. Your first 3 hours of the day are going to basically rolling out projects that'll eventually raise your electric bill.
And here's some quotes in this article. I mean, it's not us saying this. I don't care what kind of power we use. I don't want to make all of this always. I don't care. Let's deliver the lowest cost kilowatt per hour to the disproportionately impacted communities and everybody. And I happen to be one, so we'll just leave that alone on that. But when we sit back and go, it's clear that the near-term impact of the state's policies is upward pressure on utility bills as consumers are already grappling with soaring energy prices. It's not that I'm personally against the need to decarbonize our system rapidly and efficiently. It's just that we're having to pay for it.
It's just that we're having to pay for it. Oh, it's just that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, okay.
This is going to happen across markets as we do this, especially in regulated electrical markets where you don't really have a choice.
Oh yeah. And
you've opted in by living there.
My interview with Adrienne from she's the head of the grid security for the American Power Association. Holy smokes, she's smart. That one's coming out first of next week, and it's about the grid, stupid. Holy smokes. I mean, we got some security issues going on. Okay, let's go to the wind farm one here. this goes along with that article. So we got 4 articles that are related to each other. And they're not from Arkansas, or never mind. That was a bad joke as well, too. So New Jersey, 8,000 per resident. I'm on a rare form today. 8,000 per resident wind energy won't reduce climate change, but it will kill hundreds of whales. And now, speaking of the whales, Greta started going and protesting wind farms because they were harmful to reindeer. Do you remember that conversation, but 2 weeks ago?
Mhm.
So now she's got her PhD in theology so she can worship the reindeer. What do you think? No. Okay. That was a reach. All right. Stark contrast to the vision of harvesting energy from wind. Michael, there's some stats in here. One of the project, it's the first wind boondoggles. This is the author. This is not me. Is Ocean Wind 1, a 1,100 megawatt project in the early stages off southern New Jersey, developed by Danish company Ørsted. On a windy day, Ocean Wind 1 project would power some 500,000 homes. Let me go through some other numbers here. It's only the start of this. They want to install 11,000 megawatts of offshore wind. I did their calculations on this according to Don Deers, the other grid expert. They've underestimated the number of wind turbines that they need by 30%, Michael. And I'm not an engineer. I got a crayon, and I guarantee you I'm going to be right on this. Now, let's go to the next one here. And they come in here, and it is going to raise the price. They got a price tag of $774.25 billion. That's $8,000 per resident in New Jersey.
Yeah, you have to realize how he got to that number, though. What he said is phase 2 of this ocean wind problem, this ocean
9
wind
miles
farm.
offshore.
Okay, time out. But you're jumping to this article's jumping a little bit far into the future, so I'm gonna rein us back in a little bit. What this is saying, and I mean, I don't disagree with his numbers. I disagree with the way he's interpreted this, but we'll leave it at that. What he's saying is that this next phase 2 is 11,000 megawatts, and if you go look at the EIA, who we can believe or not, but we'll go ahead and believe it, estimates that the upfront construction for offshore wind in New Jersey is about 6.75 million per megawatt. So do the math, 11,000 times 6.75 million, you get a little over $74 billion, which equates to, in today's dollars, 8,000 per New York resident, which is actually not horrible when you consider the fact that it's not like this is 11,000 megawatts is to be built between now and 2024. So as much, I mean, I'm standing with you. I don't want to see a wind farm off the coast of New Jersey. Like you said, the environmental issues that go with that far outweigh any sort of benefit we're going to get from cheaper electricity. But I'll couch it. This is a little bit of shock porn, as we like to say.
Right. But on the other hand on the other side of this, Michael, those numbers that he even used crayon math are wrong from the standpoint that number's low. I guarantee you it's going to be a lot more than that, because it doesn't take into consideration any of the upgrades that are needed by the grid in order to do that. The New Jersey grid is in bad shape.
Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely no way they're going to only roll out wind. And I mean, the 6.7 million per megawatt's probably wrong. It's probably more like 10 million.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm with you, but we just have to let's. This guy is throwing out, oh my goodness, it's going to be $8,000 this year. It's like no. That's today's annualized cost, but you have to spread that out over however many years you'll be paying taxes.
Right. But on the other thing, let's go to the other article that we just read here in just a second. I'm sitting here with my crippled hands, don't get old. I kind of like,
Okay.
So the other article, though, Michael, is saying that the New York people are paying incredibly higher energy prices because of the solar. Same thing. New Jersey's now going, hey, we want to catch up to New Jersey with high energy prices, or to New York. So anyway, all right, let's go to Total. Coming around the corner. TotalEnergies bet on gas means no big emissions cut by 2030. Michael, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the difference between the big oil companies in the US versus the big oil companies, BP. And, BP and Total went totally green. They went green. BP went to beyond petroleum and, to the skies, or to the skies and beyond, or whatever that kid is, that toy. Anyway, so now BP last week we talked about is having to redo it. Now Total is now saying, look at this, end user emissions referred to as scope 3. They are now worried that all of these things are coming through. We have scope 1, which is for the E&P operators, the carbon emissions that are due off of your rig, how you get it to transport. Scope 2 emissions are actually from the refineries. Stage 2, scope 3 is actually your product on the consumer. Europe is ahead of us in charging energy companies for scope 3 emissions. You lose capability of tracking or in improving that once it leaves your thing. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some absolutely banger quotes in here. I mean, this
Okay,
is
let's
actually Total Energy. This is one of the oil and gas companies that has dove really deep into the ESG. We're going to become a solar and wind farm company. Listen to this, Stu. This is absolutely hilarious. Okay, so it first talks about overall, they mentioned overall greenhouse gases will not see a big reduction by 2030, given they, quote, want to grow our gas business, this executive said. Okay, so that's the first quote. Next one you've got here is CEO Patrick Bouyang. I don't know, Bouyang, whatever. French, these French people, I can't pronounce their names. Basically, the CEO said the company should not be held accountable for its customers' combustion of fossil fuels, adding that when TotalEnergies sells gas to replace more polluting coal, this was a net positive for the climate. So they're already taking natural gas and blending it as ESG. It gets even better. Here's an actual quote from the CEO. Regarding the volume of scope 3, we put 400 million, quote unquote, but we did not lower that target because we don't consider that we have an impact on some of it. Okay, listen to this one. This is from their chief strategy and sustainability officer, Helen Christopherson. Quote, the net takeaway is that even when our gas related scope 3 emissions go up, the world is better off. That's almost a mic drop.
Yep. And what happened last year to the EPA saying that we reduced our emissions again by increasing our internal natural gas and reducing coal? That happened in the US. Let's use more natural gas and get rid of coal. You're not hearing any grumping from anybody here.
As long as we're producing and selling that sweet, sweet American natural gas, I'm all about it.
Oh, you bet. Okay. Shell, this is the funny part. Shell says, hey, they've ruled out setting any absolute scope 3 emission reduction targets. Everybody realizes once you leave your refinery, it leaves your E&P area, you lose control of it. You cannot do anything about it.
We're
all right.
I think so for all our listeners, we're considering rolling out a little bit of a merch shop. See what you guys get your hands on. So some of our merch. I think this would be, I think one of the mugs we should have, Stu, is scope 4 emissions. Can we have a mug that just says scope 4 emissions positive?
Yes. We're going to have things like what's a few billion between friends, we're going to have,
we'll get the top ones.
we'll get to top ones because we've had a lot of folks commenting on all those. Okay, last one. Bank turmoil could undermine the effect of Biden's clean energy bill. Huh. Last night, Michael, when you were watching the baseball game, this article talks about how many startups with Silicon Valley Bank were startups in the renewable space. Great.
Mhm.
My rant yesterday was on the fact that let's not talk penalize the bank or say that it was the bank's fault or those renewable startup companies. Banks have the obligation to actually do good business. These guys were just customers. Don't blame a bank failing because they're renewable energy companies. That has nothing to do with a failed bank using failed business policies. There are renewable companies out there that are well-run companies. They're using incentives from the government. They're using their products. They're good businesses. You can't blame a failed bank because they're funneling money to a renewable company. There are good renewable companies. They had failed business practices. They had somebody that was not even looking at their financials. That was my whole purpose on this article.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that anytime the government is subsidizing a given industry, when that subsidy goes away or the ability to attract capital goes away from that sector, you're going to see a fall and you're going to see an underwriting. So, yes, as you mentioned, should we be cheering that climate tech took a hit? Yeah, we shouldn't be dancing on the grave of those people who are now basically never going to be able to fundraise again, because sure, they've got their money back, but it's going to be tough for them to go to another bank that is going to give them the
Right.
it is going to give them the type of stuff and the access that Silicon Valley Bank did. And specifically, I think on the budget that Biden is rolling out, he's going to have to get extremely creative on how this is financed. And when I mean creative, I mean the state will pay for it.
I saw an article,
AKA you.
right, the consumers.
No, just Stu.
I think it was 70 trillion or 7 trillion. I don't know what's a few trillion between friends now, but the US government needs to put, let's just say it's 7 trillion, give them the benefit of the doubt, in order to hold securities for bank deposits for others that potentially could fail. Whatever the number is, it's huge. This is a bad precedent.
Yes, no, it's definitely a bad precedent, but this whole bank crisis is absolutely insane, because what do? You expect you expect me to start doing due diligence on banks that I put my money in? Like, I shouldn't have to do that.
Nope.
So
no, I couldn't agree more, Michael.
What's next?
You're up, dude.
Well, I mean, from a finance section, guys, there's not much other than the S&P 500 was down 1.56 percentage points. NASDAQ drops 1.3 percentage points. Crude oil rises $70 and 2 cents as we record this, about 625, mainly due to the fact that the dollar was weakened off interest rates cuts. We did see Fed Chair Jerome Powell come out and confirm a 25 basis points increase of the Fed target federal funds rate, which set it again a 25 basis points increase. That was around expectations. The market was, I say, expecting 25 basis points. I think the sentiment since the Silicon Valley Bank collapse was that he wasn't going to raise rates, and that they were going to come to the conclusion that let's pause, let's wait, let's react, let's figure out what we're going to do with the FDIC. They're floating around, we're going to insure all deposits. They're floating around, we're not going to insure all deposits. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had some comments on that. We'll get to, but the Fed Reserve Board goes ahead and decides to raise interest rates, which again you can see it around noon. Markets fell off a cliff and pretty much took a nosedive. That's going to send specifically oil, because it's tied inversely correlated to the dollar. It's going to send that rising, as we saw today. Natural gas currently trading $2.22. What can I tell you? It's warm, people. It's warm. I think it's important to cover what some of the tension was really in these comments that Fed Chair Jerome Powell said. He tempered expectations of more rate increases, that saying we're getting towards the end of the cycle. He didn't necessarily say we're going to have more. Janet Yellen also came out to say, Treasury Secretary, and said we're considering but aren't sold on insuring all deposits. Bill Ackman is losing his mind on Twitter right now, saying that's a mistake. So believe what you want on some of the political rumors. The point is, the market is expecting worse. And that's what we saw today. I don't think what his comments did anything to qualm feels, even if we are not expecting rate increases down the line. So very interesting from Jerome Powell today. I think the fallout we'll continue to see. Commercial real estate is getting crushed right now. So if you're in that business, I'm sorry. Oil and gas is booming, kind of, but
1031 exchange.
Ooh, there you go.
Let trade your
I did not know. I mean, this is talk about learning stuff. That was, this year. I think probably 2023. I did not know you can 1031 exchange from real estate into oil and gas.
We're helping a lot of people.
You're helping a lot of people, Stu. So what else you got today? I'm done. We spent too much on stories. I'm out of breath.
Oh yeah. Hey, anytime we can wipe you out, Michael, it's a great day. Hey, tomorrow is going to be a fabulous day. Buckle up.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. So we appreciate you guys checking us out. We'll let you get out of here, get back to work. Again, thank you for making it this far. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.